Hello everybody, today I have the pleasure to propose to you this key 45 entitled education. So a little bit different from usually we're gonna define in 4 steps this fascinating topic through first step the definition of this concept to make sure that we are on the same page. Secondly, the reason why, the field of application, the scope of education. Third, we will see more. It will be, I'm gonna combine techniques and tips, and also it will be a little bit different. I will take 12 different pillars that I consider as essential for education, and then I will share with you a vision I have for the school of the future, the school 2.0, the evolutionary, revolutionary school that we are building here in Bali. It's a project that we will should let's say occurs, and we should give birth within something like 2 years. It will be online, and the vocation is to amplify this. We will help people to do the same with charity, for them to for different schools like this, let's say, open up in the world, even if there is already some concept equivalence. But for us is essential, and I will explain you why. So I will share with you 12 pillars of it as well, some key points for you to feel a little bit the philosophy of this type of new school, new education, and so on. So let's start with the first step, which is kind of definition. What is it concretely? Education. Education educates in Latin. It means guide out of. Okay, literally, initially in Latin, it means that guide out of. What does it mean? It refers a little bit to the Einstein philosophy. The fact you cannot change you cannot solve the problem with the same mind which created it. Okay, concretely, it is thinking out of the box. Okay, guide out of a conventional structure. Okay, so it's interesting. And then the word evolved more in a sense of developments, to produce, to grow, to make blossom. Okay, very similar to agriculture, to plant, to plant the seed, and then to help for water the plant and so on, for the plant grow up and blossom literally. Okay, so this is a metaphor, and in parallel of that, it's very similar. Let's see a kind of academic definition of education, and then I will give you mine own vision. Okay, I'm not saying this is true, this is untrue. This is different perspective with different elements. Both are correct, but I mean, it's completely personal. Okay, it's like if I ask you the definition of love tomorrow, probably we will have millions of different definitions, right? So this is concretely teaching, learning, and development of intellectual, moral, and physical capacities. And then the tools and the results for of this activity of development. So this is academic definition. My own personal definition would be something like education is the transmission or transmit values, arousing, stimulating curiosity, giving tools to develop one's capacities and fulfillments according to one's center of interest and sensitivity. This is concretely based on what we call in Greek philosophy meiotics, to help people to give birth to themselves. Knowing then Socrates, the father of meiotics, these techniques, 2,500 years ago, his mother was midwifery. Okay, so it is literally to give birth to the people, to give birth to yourself. It means that you give different keys and people open up the doors they want. It just is not to impose, you are that, no. So that's why in my own definition, the main difference with the academic one is this, to decipher, to analyze the center of interest, what makes people vibrate, what they like, okay? And also according to their sensitivity. There is, let's say, everybody is different and everybody learns differently. So the approach should be adaptable, that's the point. And last also is the curiosity. Curiosity doesn't mean a gossip and so on, what the neighbor is doing, no. It's, the curiosity is just the capacity to marvel at life. To be curious means to question existence in general, to ask a maximum of questions and to take a certain pleasure within, okay? So if we see the, let's say, the education, most of people think there is two ways. Education is the family, the parents, the uncles, and so on. That's correct. Then this is school. That's also correct. But then also society is a way of education. Okay, we learn from our society, our culture, our society. If you were born in the UK, you were born in India. If you were born in Pakistan, if you were born in Peru, it's different. Okay, it's radically different education through the society, the culture. Okay, or in Afghanistan or wherever. Okay, so society, then the interaction between people, the family, the colleagues, the media, and so on. So this is another way of education. Okay, and last, which is the school, the street school, as we call it, is a kind of education through life, through the living. Okay, this is in the absolute. Everything is initiation. Everything is can be a way to learn. I'm always saying, despite I'm a professor, let's say teacher for different business school, MBA, and so on, I'm always saying to my students, I'm an eternal student of life. Because sometimes they see me being professor for them, even if they are in MBA and so on, they perceive me a little bit higher. And I say I'm just a kid of my age, and in parallel of that, I'm still a student of life. And why? I think that, because the first is the truth, I learn every day, hopefully, and in parallel of that, I think it's good, it's healthy to keep this capacity to develop your curiosity and to like to learn, basically. A very important point is the fact there is no magical recipe, no magic recipe. There is only magic adaptation of the education. Okay, it's exactly like Ayurveda. Okay, Ayurveda is a philosophy for food, for example, nutrition. It's according, so there is different pattern, grid, and then you adapt it to each one according to your personality, metabolism, the moment of the year, your age, and so on and so on. There is many parameters to integrate, and after that, it becomes miraculous. But then there is no miraculous or magic pattern. There is some adaptation, which becomes magic. Okay, so this is my vision of education. Then what's the scope, the reason for being of education? It's quite simple. The first one for me is education stands for the foundation, the basis, the foundation to build an harmonious individual, an harmonious human beings. This is to be happy, to be fulfilled, to be respectful, to have a certain positive state of mind, to have a certain vision, collective mind, let's say not to be selfish, And yeah, this capacity to exchange and this curiosity. Second, this education stands for the foundation of to build a more harmonious society in general. Because everybody, you know, it's like you shape, and you are in harmony personally, inwardly. You did the work, and you shape your philosopher's stone, and you can insert in the gigantic building of the society. That's the point. Okay, so another point, it participates necessarily to individual and collective awakening. As we try to see, awakening is to open up your mind, your consciousness, and also your heart. Okay, so your tolerance, your respect, your for everything. So awakening is touching everything, and we can imply spirituality or not. It's not compulsory, but it's all this. So it's participating. A good education allows people to be to awaken basically, and then obviously implying the transition towards a new era, a new paradigm of the future. Well, here we are regarding 12 pillars of education in general, implying combining education with family, with your kids, with schools, society, and so on and so forth. Personally, combining all this through my experience with the education with my own baby, okay, my own child, as a father. Secondly, as a professor, teacher for business school for almost 10 years, okay, for MBA students, so quite old. Even in the past, sometimes some people were taking back a course, the courses, so I was younger than. So, and also in parallel, in the orphan center, the orphanage here in Bali, and also for other, another center here, concretely, they are younger, okay? They are 18, 20 years for the course I give them, French and creativity, self-development and so on is very large. Is meditation, is theater, is project management, is many things. And so, and I also I have relationship also with the kids for shows or you know, music, artistical stuff and so on, project like this. So I have this experience, and also in my coaching of life, this occupation I have, coach of life coach. This is exactly, this is kind of education, helping people to find themselves, to give birth to themselves. And then in management, I have a company here in Bali, so Holistic Wellbeing Center. I have a company in Shanghai, okay, clothes industry, so fashion. So we design, we produce, we export. So there is a team there in Shanghai, so 10 people. And let's say the management is a kind of education. It's not limited to children, no. And also I just discovered that adults are just kids most of the time, with wrinkles and with ages, okay? Very often we behave as kids, okay? So anyway, just I would tell you, one of the first pillar for me, the basic of education, so for family, for schools and so on, the first one for me is to arouse, to stimulate the interest, the curiosity, and of learning, and also to extract a pleasure of it. This is a source of joy, of happiness, the fact to learn more, to explore, like Indiana Jones, to enlarge your perspective of the consciousness, and this is a source of pleasure. Einstein said creativity is smartness, having fun. Okay, so this is important to I wrote a book that you can find, Recreation, for free. You can download it, regarding 120 different tools to be creative and intuitive. This is for me extremely important for the new civilization and for the transition in general, personal transition and collective transition. The very important second point is to visualize the center of interest. That's to say, what do they like, what the kids like in real, okay? They are attracted by what, okay? Then to accompany, okay, to support them a maximum. This is important. They feel the hands on daddy. It's psychological, of course. That's, you are not completely out. You let an autonomy, but in parallel, they feel you are there for them. Okay? Very important to be aware, okay, to listen to them. That's to say, this is a notion of psychology. To understand, to listen the kids and so on is really, really important for the balance of life, the equilibrium. Not to compare the kids between each other, okay, is for own education is normal. If you have a daughter and a son, it's good to avoid, she's so talented and you say too much for one, you need to compensate, okay? But it's true for when you have a class. This is good not to compare, you did right, compared to him, this is super bad, because it creates frustration, anger, and so on, competition, and so on, so it's not positive and constructive. To bring the kids in a self-confidence and a self-confidence in the sense they trust themselves. This is important. They trust the capacity, they know their weaknesses, but at least they are confident, okay? So it's important to say when it's good, okay, when it's good for, you know, the feeling of recognition, okay, it's good, okay, that's important to say. It's important to say when it's not good, okay, not necessarily with the frustration, but constructive, criticizing constructively means, okay, you didn't reach the objective as you wanted maybe, but okay, I'm gonna show you how to improve it, okay? Kind of resilience in the sense that if the result is negative, okay, it's another way to learn, okay? So just to avoid the conflict and the fact that someone is blocking, it's really important because we can create really frustration. Also, in the notion of when you say to a kid it's good and so on, personally, it's completely personal. I don't like the notion of reward for an accomplishment. Okay, I'll give you an example. Do you give a gift to your kid if he can walk? No, it's better for life, right? Or if he can talk? No, it's the same. It will be useful for life, for communication, and so on. Okay, so I aspire to exactly the same philosophy for everything. I don't like necessarily to give a gift because my kid has a good mark and so on, or to give good, I don't really like this. I just want to transmit the auto-complacency, you know, in self-accomplishment. In the pyramid of Maslow, the pyramids of the needs, actually at the beginning, there is 5 levels. The first one is physiological, means eating, sleeping, and so on, breathing, and then safety, belonging, and so on. And the last one is self-complacency, and for me, it's extremely important. It means that you're happy. You know, I'll give you an example. Here in Bali, we have some projects. So I initiate projects with of plastic recycling. So it's a kind of movement. So we do things online, and also we do physically. So we go to clean up the plastic physically. We take picture and so on, and also we go to municipality, to school, to teach not to throw away the plastic for the consequences and so on. Okay, so it's curative and preventive, but we're not gonna clean the whole islands. No, we just do a little bit, and then we convey the message as a challenge with other kids within the island of Bali. In all Indonesia, in Malaysia, in Southeast Asia, maybe we will also have a scope with Australia and worldwide, who knows. But this is the goal, is to be the change that you want to see in the world, practically, and also to try to stimulate the interest of other kids to do the same, to show that there is an initiative of positiveness and so on, everywhere, and to any ages. Okay, so. And I remember we did a brainstorming with the kids. I mean, they are in between 18 and 20. And for them to the approach, the communication, and one of them proposed the idea to give a reward for the challenge, like a competition, and they say, okay, but we can just have a fun of the competition, and the one arrived, the first one, is just honor of that, because I explained that I was not really in favor of that, because the result is what? We're happy when the island has no plastic anymore, because it's good for our health, it's more beautiful, and so on and so forth. So this is just for the welfare of our planet. So this is already the reward in a certain extent, and also we can have a pleasure just by doing something good. Okay, and I took the example with them. I said, okay, guys, let's imagine I come every week here. I spend one day with you for project, for teaching, for also co-management and so on, some tips and so on. Okay, I need 1 hour to come to reach the orphanage. I need 1 hour to go home. I am paid? No. Do I have a reward? In a certain extent, not officially, but yes, I have a reward. Self-accomplishment. When I go home, I feel good. I'm full of oxytocin. The fact I feel, according to the feedback, that it is useful for them, because we did some concrete things, and I see the evolution is small scope indeed. It's it's not a big deal. Just the fact that I feel so. Yes, there is a pleasure to learn, to do something good, and this is exactly what I think it's good to convey, to transmit. 7, to respect the zone of comfort of a kid. It's important to let it alone sometimes, to let him or her with, when they're teenagers, sometimes they are rebel, they just want to, to fight and so on, to respect that, or to have a kind of fun and so on. The society is fucked up and so on. Okay, what would be the perfect society? You can just try to be not aggressive, of course, but just to be pragmatical and constructive and so on, to accompany them in that case. But it is important to listen to them, the capacity to listen to them, to communicate properly, to listen, the anger sometimes, it's very important. It's important also to establish some limits. Okay, there is rules. There is why? Because the liberty, freedom starts when my freedom. My freedom starts where the freedom of other people stops. Okay, this is common sentence. I'm not sure about just the translation I'm doing from French, but it's important things. Establish some limits. It can be gently, orally. It can be stronger, and then acts, punishment if need, and so on. It means that it is different, like a rainbow is different shades according also what you have in front. It's normal that you have some limits and you impose when the kids are 3, 4 years old. You're not going to ask their opinion for education. Do you want to learn this today and so on? Yeah, you can just ask with different, or do we learn today? Oh, no, we play in the garden, of course. What do you want to eat? Oh, I want to eat my, I don't know, some candies and some chips. If you just listen to them, okay, you don't want vegetable and so on, they will never tell you. Okay, so you have to adjust, of course, according to the ages and according to the degree of autonomy and so on. You know, that's why there is permissive education, same for management, permissive, suggestive, semi-directive, directive, imposed, and so on. Okay, if you have really kids, they have no notion of values and so on, you impose. It's the same for management. Unfortunately, some culture they really need to be imposed. As long as you put participation and so on, they will abuse and they will stop to work properly and so on. It's happened to me in the past. Okay, so you have to, it's like fine tuning, you know, to adjust properly according to a situation. Important to transmit the rules to live together. Okay, and I saw that especially in a certain country, in China, for which a lot of people, they cannot work together. The education don't allow that. They don't have so group work or working group and so on. And this is really difficult. A lot of people are very selfish and individualist in their way of working, for instance. And this is something personally breaks the social fabrics. And for me, it's really important to transmit that because together we are stronger. This is normally the philosophy in Asia, Confucius, Tao, Lao Tzu, and so on. Transmit that, but nowadays, for different reasons, education and so on, the fear probably to take, to have a certain leadership and so on. There is not this notion of living together or working together, and this is, for me, essential. To explain the mistakes with the notion of resilience, corrective actions, and how to improve yourself, to use empathy also, reformulating feedback, you know, role playing like, you know, musical chairs, the game, you know. For instance, if your son is, took the toys of your daughter and she's crying, you can just explain to both of them why you don't share, because it is an ask and so on. Okay, so it is her belonging, so you can just explain you need to play, she's not playing now, so but you can ask the permission and so on. And then would you like that she takes your own let's say little fellows, your little toys and so on without your permission, and on the other way around and so on. And you explain actually for education, but also in a class. In a class, if there is a conflict in a class, you explain things and you reformulate, you do some feedback. This is really important. 11, to transmit values. Values and also a knowledge, okay, for the kids can put in practice. Okay, it's not because you give them all the tips and so on that they will not experience. Okay, they will experience by falling down, by wake up, and so on and so forth. Okay, is you cannot do for them. It's like the principle of old grandpa, you know, very frustrated by life, saying to the kid, love is bullshit, she will cheat you, she will leave you, or it will not last, it will after a few years. Okay, grandpa, okay, thank you for your advice, I will do by my own. And also, it's life, huh? You cannot do for other people, you cannot go to toilets for other people. Even if it's 5 years, it's already amazing. And also, there is not a science, a pattern. Maybe you were not lucky, Grandpa, but let's try to do my own mistakes and to learn by my own. This is resilience and own. Yeah, it's giving keys for me, education, values, knowledge, and so on. And then this is to create autonomy. This is important to create autonomy and not assisted people necessarily. 12, to teach, to transmit the notion of effort also, and parallel passion, okay? It is kind of discipline, as to be happy is a pleasure to become happy, but it's discipline and the state of mind, okay? Because holistic dimension requires sport, good nutrition, and so on, but it should be a pleasure, okay? It's a passion, normally, it's an appeal, but you can perceive as a constraint, okay? So the goal is to change this trend, and in general, the goal is the sense of effort. You like to invest in gyms and so on. This is a pleasure that you will have and so on. Okay, let's try to share with you my vision of my the school, the evolutionary, the revolutionary school. Okay, that's I depict in the book for free that you can have, you can download on my website. The name is Sage Passage Utopia. I will put the reference, and actually, concretely, I give you just 12, this is depicted in the book, but I give you just 12 pillars. And this is physically a school that we will build here, opening in 2 or 3 years here in Bali. We hope that there will be different antennas. We will help people to do it also in different countries. We'll put also online. And actually, we do also already here in the orphanage, the way I'm teaching the course of creativity, it's completely, it's large, it's all what I'm gonna depict here is what we do concretely, okay? But the goal is really to have special building and so on for that. So I just share you briefly. It's based on TIP, techniques method that I baptize, I told you, TIP, T-I-P, theory, intuition, practice. We learn from the book. We learn, for example, from the books, the recipe, if you like cuisine. Then we put in practice. We cook by our own, to burn, not enough, and so on. We adjust, and then we learn a certain experience, okay? Practice, and then intuition, thanks to the theory, thanks to the practice, we develop our intuition, and then we can innovate a new recipe or a new approach of learning and so on. This is the pillar. This is the way we do. This is the things I'm teaching here in the orphanage. In the business school, I do like this for 10 years. In my management, I practice the same with my personal education and so on and so forth. This is one of the pillars. Okay. Secondly, this is an interactive, dynamic teaching. It's evolutive, it's participative as well, okay? As I like to say, the teacher and the students are making together the teaching, okay? It means that we combine the perception, the brainstorming, and so on, and we are all learning together. That's why I'm always saying I'm a student of life for this reason. Third, it should have an interest and a pleasure and the kind of entertainments in the fact to learn. This is extremely important, okay? Why? Because it's a kind of art of living, okay? This is, when you have a passion, concretely, this is based on Confucius, find a job that you like and you will never have to work a single day, okay? If you have a passion, you like something, you are completely fulfilled, invest in it and so on. So, but indeed, we can have fun with learning. Personally, I learn every day. I do a lot of tuto. I follow a lot of tuto. Of course, also I read a lot of books or I listen audiobooks, and I love to learn something. I need to learn something every day, like for nourishing myself, just like food. Okay, this is for me extremely important, and there is a fun of enlarging the perspective. So Then the different, for example, discipline that we teach in the orphanage and in this school of future are the following. Is not exhaustive, but roughly: meditation, yoga, that's to say physical activity, the connection in between your mind and the synchronization of the movements, the gestures, anatomy, okay, to know the organs, how they work, how to activate them, how to take care of them, how to pay attention to them. Energy, so the energy in general, energy, the chi, the chi, the ki, the prana, the ether, and so on, how to stimulate it. Like this, we can activate more the power of the capacity of our body. Astronomy, just to know the environment that we have, just with material, for example, to see Saturn, you know, the ring of Saturn, for example, to see the moon, to see the different stars and so on, different planets. Is just, and of course it's practical, it's like a workshop on night, so it means it's really exciting, you see, and so on, we discuss, so it's really living, okay, it's like amusement, like fun. Sacred geometry, gardening, okay, to know how to plant, how to blossom, how to respect nature as well, how to see what are the nutrition as well, cooking for them to know, to be aware of the good treatment they have for themselves. Botanic, sewing, do it yourself, to learn from the recycling part. In the future, probably we will consume less, so we will redo, we will renew, we will resew, and so on. This is a perception and philosophy as well. Art of living, music, painting, literature, theater. We do hear a lot. Theater doesn't mean necessarily Shakespeare. Huh? It can be just improvisation, so it's very fun. You have just a topic and then improvisation, so sometimes does make sense and doesn't make sense, but after a while, and then we have a lot of fun, but just to develop our communication capacity and so on, the self-expression and so on. I can see, because here, for example, a class, at the beginning, one of them or two of them were very, very shy. And now after almost 2 years, they are really, really, they like to do presentation and so on. They have a very good capacity of sensitivities and to be precise and so on. It's clear in their mind, they are sharp and so on. So this is really very important theory. Philosophy, moral, ethics, empathy, the Marini workshop to understand the integrated system, to be more tolerant. Empathy, I'm talking about this importance for more than 20 years. It exists, it is taught officially at school in Denmark for a few years and in Belgium as well. So it will be a common sense. The school I'm talking about, that you can find in Sage Passage, Utopia, once again, it will be the normality in the future. In 20, 30 years, you will see it will be obvious. It is just common sense. Honestly, I didn't invent anything. It's just common sense, okay? So empathy, orientation, career orientation, that's to say we do here, we prepare some resume, some CV, we prepare interviews, simulation, and so on. Last time I challenged them a little bit because they prepared the CV, and I just say, but just copy paste. You all did the same, but you're all unique, right? And then I dig a little bit because I know them and so on. And one of them, she builds a kind of dance course. Another one is ambassador in his university. Another one is meloman. It means that he can play 7 different instruments of music. Another one, she's in an art association and so on. So I say, you have to put that. This is your own, your main differentiation. It shows that you are not a clone, you are not a copy-paste. So it shows that you have an investment, a commitment. All what we do here, for example, the handling of projects like plastic recycling, and then what I said to you, we go to vehicle to convey this message and so on, and say all this, the show we do and so on, the project, the movie we did and so on, this you have to insert in your CV, and the recruiter should be wowing, because normally it's surprising, and it shows that if you can do that, you will be very creative, very committed, involved for your job in general. Okay, so this is really important. So creativity as well. As I told you, I invite you to read the book. Recreation, there is 120 different, and I have a course online as well. It's not free, sorry about that. But creativity, 120 different tools to be created. Project management, this is what we saw with a real concrete project of organization and so on. This is really important, the logistic, the needs we want, the equipment, the booking, the coordination with people. This is really a timeline, a budget, eventually fundraising, all this kind of thing. It is organized. Communication, which media we will use. We will contact the journalists, we will contact the social media and so on and so forth. I mean, we will use the social media. This is a full combo of things to be independent, autonomous. And then spirituality, history, geography, and so on. Here I teach them for their culture, some Balinese culture, some Hinduism, because they are Hindu, but most of them, they don't really know the culture. Islam, because this is Muslim country, for the cohesion, for them to know. Christianity, Taoism, and spirituality without any preference. I just explained let's say, the main pillars of each for them to be tolerant, basically. There is necessarily fifth, a holistic approach. Holistic means overall, global, to have the big picture of the different way of educating, so the method and the form and the content, and also the transdisciplinarity. What does it mean? It means that we do bridge in between the different disciplines, okay? This is the principle of medicine and science, art and science, spirituality and science, and so on. So we do exactly the same. We do some links, so okay, we learned that he has a link with that, and so on. So they have like an octopus vision, a big picture for them to know. And honestly, by knowing, by understanding what they learn, the methods, and also we do a lot of fresh reminders, feedback, active feedback, passive feedback. We ask them what you understood. Okay, they repeat, and so on. After one day, after 1 week, and so on. And the capacity of synthesizing. Okay, if you have to resume by one word, with one sentence, with one paragraph, and so on. For them to have this capacity, and so on. And they are literally exploding, okay? Exploring and exploding, exploring the treasure within, and also exploding in the sense that they develop the talents in general, okay? Then the ergonomy, the physical and mental ergonomy. Ergonomy, what is it? It is the harmonious shapes. So it means it's like feng shui, okay, in Chinese. Concretely, it's the harmony of the environment, impact your mind. So, and then the harmony, the ergonomy of your mind also in general, in our capacity. So what does it mean? It means two things. It means the school is open to nature, okay? It's open with outside, inside, indoor, outdoor, and also with different, workshop. Also classified by disciplines, very easy to access, okay, with for the youngest one, with the material and so on. It should be very luminous, okay, very bright, okay, very important this. It should be with air, like air in both sense. We should breathe. But the organization is not, the table, the desk like this. That traditional is more in cycle. Like this is easier to discuss. Everybody is at the same position and so on. Okay, so and with hair could be also the notion, the mind, the mental, the way of educating. It means it should be punctual. Okay, you have a point, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, then we do a short break or meditation, or just to have a fun and entertainment, like a break, a recreation, or having, for example, experience, exercise, theory, and then practice, workshop, and so on, or reformulate, and then to balance, to change, maybe more, let's say, cerebral in the morning, more mental, more artistical and entertainment, artistic the afternoon, or physical, like sport, yoga, all this kind of things, self-development. You know, it has to be adjust, even for all, let's say, type of children, and also during the day, if you're in one-to-one, or an audience and you feel they are completely sleepy, okay, but no need to force. Okay, let's do a short break. Okay, you feel it's good sense, it's common sense. Okay, there is no grade, no marks, no. Why? Because this is a kind of system of self-evaluation, assessment, self-assessment, and also there is necessarily the teacher can assess them through different ways, like projects, presentation, talks, debrief, feedback, participation, and so on. Okay, you can visualize if they understood by asking, okay, what did you understood? And when they do a project and so on. So there is different ways. It's avoid the notion of reward, it's avoid the notion of competition and so on. That's why the key 8 is to insist on the working in group and to have the collective mindsets, to develop the notion of collective performance and collaboration, instead of, you know, blind competition and other people represent a fist, but it can represent a hand as well. Okay, a help, a mutual help, and so on. So this is important for us to perceive with the teamwork, team spirit. It's precious. Together we are stronger, as we say in Asia. And 9, the transmission of human values and ecologic values as well, the respect of nature, of life in general, the respect of human beings, the respect of the common sense of, you know, to be gentle, or just courtesy, you know, like you're in a bus, you see a grandma stand and you have a chair, necessarily you say, okay, please, it's common sense, you know, you hold the door, all this kind of thing. You go for helping someone who has difficulties. Why I'm precising that? In many Anglo-Saxon country is the case already. People are very gentle and so on. But in certain country in the world, it's not the case at all. Okay, and especially one country I would not like to quote. I spent quite a lot of time. Okay, and no, there is no social fabric at all. People are very selfish, and because one diluted the responsibility, individual responsibility in the group. So if there is an accident, injured people, nobody is paying attention. It's horrible, but it's like this. Okay, so and this is for me a threat for the social fabric and the end of a civilization. And that's why for me it's so important. All this is education for me is the pillar of a new society. Okay, it's preventive. Then there is some curative part, but this is really important to have this notion of collective collaboration. 9 is ecologic and human, to share life, to share, to be gentle in general, to assist people, to help people, to be helpful, and so on, to respect nature, to appreciate nature, and so on. We are part of it. Okay, very important. 10 is to have an advisor for education. It means, you know, for career management, and following you since you are a child till 18, 20 years old, okay? To see the evolution of your interests, center of interest, passion and so on, to orientate, okay, you are talented, you are not so talented, but you like it, okay, how to reach that, okay, what's the school you need to do and so on, what's the teaching, sorry. I do that with the kids, okay, I orientate them and so on. It's for me very important. Use a lot the senses, okay, since the childhood, early childhood, and so on, to feel, for example, the numbers, okay, with way of touching the numbers, also associating with images and so on. All this, okay, is neuroscience, and is really important to memorize and so on, to stimulate. Also, you can decipher if a kid is more prefer touching or prefer to smell or to see and so on, because we are all different. Some people are more visual, some people are more auditive. You prefer to read a book, you prefer to listen to an audiobook, you prefer to watch a movie. It's up to anybody, okay? It's not good or bad, we are all different in that sense. This is important also to know one's body. Okay, I feel tired. Okay, but no need to force the kid to stimulate his or her attention. Okay, do a short meditation, short nap, then fresher. Okay, so this is important. For the future also, not to force people with a strict schedule and so on. It has to be flexible. This is liberty and also productivity, effectiveness, efficiency, and so on and so forth. It is linked. The management I try to set up with my business partner is based on that, and is working much more. This is the principle of Silicon Valley. Why is so working well? Due to that, especially the ergonomy of the methodology, the flexibility, and so on. And last, of course, is the autonomy. Autonomy, it's to also autonomy of the kids to transmit also, to reformulate, to help each other, to become the leader and the so-called teacher for a while, okay, for capitalizing the knowledge and so on, and the capacity to transmit and so on. And for example, autonomy here we have in the orphanage, they clean up, every morning. Okay, this is something, this is in the tradition here, all the schools they are doing, and I think it's good. It's good, like, on a common project, but in the orphanage they do. Or they have 2 cats. They have to take care to feed them and to take care to avoid they go on the street because there is the road, it could be dangerous and so on. And this is like their own responsibility, like a big family, there are 100 members, and they all have to pay attention to give love, to give affection, caressness, attention, and so on. And or they have plans. So we say with the co-manager, we say, are you to them, you have to pay attention to the plant, to water them, to feed them, to give them love and so on, to take care and so on. And this is a responsibility. They become autonomous. They think naturally about it, about these elements, the cats, and so no need to tell them anymore now. And it's beautiful because this, in a common common responsibility, creating autonomy. Actually, it's funny because all this, it's very inspired by Montessori teaching or Montessori schools, or which was a great woman from the previous century in Italy, and also Grain School here. But actually, Grain School, I collaborate. I went to visit them 4 years ago in Montessori. I just discovered 2 years ago, to be frank with you. But actually, this has been based and created before I met Grain School and I met Montessori teaching. So what does it mean? It means that it is purely intuition, purely intuitive approach, and actually just common sense. Okay, so that's why I told you there is no copyright, there is no notion of ownership. This will be a kind of very prevalent type of new schools, and a lot of equivalent should occur and happen everywhere on the planet, because once again, This is in the transition, the new era and the new paradigm. It does make sense. It's just based on the common sense. It's not ownership. It's just something that will, if we want, in a limited world, according to our resources, if we want to invest, let's invest more in the gray matter, that's to say the creativity, the welfare of people. There is a treasure within everybody. Just the education for me is to activate this treasure, to help people to find this treasure. And as long as we have that, I swear to you, we'll have an amazing, harmonious society. And there is space for everybody. As the Vedanta said, the Veda said, find the place which is already yours in this cosmic breath. Okay? So we are a part of it. We are alveolus of the cosmic breath. And this way of educating is that everybody arouses with a respect and so on. And honestly, it will entangle much more life in general. It will be much more harmonious. And within few decades, it will be amazing. And honestly, despite, compared to just invest in the fact to spoil planets with petrol, black oil, black gold, I told you, gray gold, which is the gray matter, the fact to invest in education, creativity, and so on, we will see incredible change on this planet, and we will find the solution of our problem by thinking out of the box. As Einstein said, you cannot solve the problem with the same mind that's creating them. This is definitely thinking out of the box. As the definition, the etymology in Latin, I start with education in Latin means guide out, okay? A word to the wise. This is only one key, guys, for you to shape the master key. To open up the door, the gateless gates of consciousness. And as you know, all the roads lead to Rome and to home and to the dome. Thank you for your attention and see you very soon.